Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Combo Breaker 99. I'm back with another video. Make sure y'all subscribe here and to the Jab Effect YouTube channel as well. Yeah, man, I'm just back with this real quick on here, man, because between the Ugas and Ramos fight last night, we got a chance to actually finally get to kind of see Errol Spence Jr. and Danny Garcia face to face. I mean, not actually face to face, of course. This was on a Zoom interview with, during the between the break, and Errol Spence and Danny Garcia. I think it was just like a 4-minute, 5-minute interview. It wasn't like a long interview, but in between that time, we got a chance to hear from Errol, about the accident and his upcoming fight with Danny Garcia, and Danny Garcia got a chance to talk as well about having that hunger again. And Errol, he said some interesting things about this fight coming up, with Danny. He knows that Danny's a competitive fighter, but it was like he said that he knows he's a better fighter because Danny kind of stays in the same gear. Whereas Errol feels that he has the ability to do everything. He has the ability to box, fight on the inside, pressure, be a puncher as well. Whereas he feels like Danny just kind of stays in that same gear and looks to be the counter puncher or be a puncher, which, I definitely understand where he's coming from. Of course, I hope he's not going in there underestimating Danny Garcia, because you never know what another fighter could be capable of, or what they could be working on. But I definitely understand what Errol Spence Jr. was saying, because honestly, I was actually saying that about Dennis Ugas last night, about staying in the same gear, which I'll talk about in another video, because I just feel like sometimes when fighters, they stay in that same gear, that just kind of refers to them just kind of plodding through the fight, doing the same thing over and over, whether it works or what, even if it doesn't work. Like, I've seen fighters just kind of stay in that one gear where they throw the same intensity, they throw the same punches the whole fight. Granted, they could be winning the fight, but they just kind of stay on that one line. They just stay on that same plateau the whole fight. Whereas if they continue to do that against elite fighters and champions, they'll never excel. You know what I mean? Where Danny Garcia, he's done that a lot. He's done that against certain type of fighters, because styles make fights. But the minute he stepped, the fights he stepped up to, like the elite welterweights, as soon as he stepped up in weight class against the welterweight champions, it didn't work. He was able to use this type of style that he does at 140. Like Errol Spence said, he said he was a champion at 140, and what he did at 140 worked, being this hard puncher and counter puncher, and being able to pressure fighters. But when you step it up, sometimes you have to make certain changes in your style, especially when you move up in weight, because, you're going to deal with different styles of fighters and stronger fighters. Like, yeah, when Danny moved up and he fought like the B class and C class of welterweights like Adrian Granados, Ivan Redkach, and so on, guys like that, he could definitely beat those guys, even if he stayed in the same gear. Like, if you look at the Ivan Redkach fight, I was waiting for Danny to take Ivan Redkach out, because he definitely had the power and the counter ability to eventually stop Ivan Redkach, but he went 12 rounds with it. He went 12 rounds with him because he just kind of stayed in that same gear of throwing the same style at Ivan Redkach. Ivan Redkach was on survival mode for some of those last few rounds, but whenever he goes in there with the guys like the Sean Porters and the Keith Thurmans, they're constantly switching up the game on Danny Garcia. And I think, that's what Errol Spence was referring to. When he looks at those fights, he goes back and studies, and be like, okay, Danny's staying in one gear, whereas I tend to go in there and make the adjustments to whatever's going on. Errol Spence was in a very, very tough fight with Sean Porter, but if Errol Spence never really switched it up or turned the power on, or switched the heart up or the mind up in like the later rounds, he probably would have lost. He probably would have lost that fight. But he was definitely having good moments in the Sean Porter fight, where you could see that Sean Porter won the box, so Errol Spence had to really put the strength on him in those later rounds and make sure he was catching in with the better punches. If you look on the inside of the way Errol Spence was making adjustments from the first round on to like 9 and 10 and 11, he was getting hit by some of Sean's shots, but if you look, he was rolling with a lot of shots and then coming back with his own straight left hand, snapping Sean Porter's head back. You really have to look at a lot of the work closely on the inside. I know it looks like a very, very close fight with Spence and Porter, but Spence was really changing gears in that fight. You really have to look at the better punches that were being landed, and a lot of the work that Sean was throwing was, kind of brushing off on Errol's shoulders and missing. He was missing a lot of shots in that fight. You got to go back and look at it. And yeah, that's why I'm just saying, like, Errol Spence, he does make some good points about Danny Garcia staying in the same year, but you never know going into this fight. It's still kind of it's still 50-50 to a lot of people just because of the accident that Errol's coming off of. I still say I still give it 60-40 for Errol Spence going into this one, and I'm really kind of just basing that off of, the accident and, his physical well-being right now. Even the mindset, you never know the mindset from being in an accident, how it could affect you going back into a fight, about your outlook of life. So, those are just different things to look at, but yeah, other than that, I'm excited about this fight. I'm excited about the talk from both of these fighters. I know a lot of people, like I always say, they don't want to see this fight because they want to see Spence Crawford, but this is still a good caliber of fight. This is still top 5 welterweights fighting, and that's what everybody wants. They want top 5 people fighting. They want the best fighting the best. So yeah, Errol sounds like he's in high spirits. He's looking forward to this fight. He's hungry. Danny Garcia, he said that in the past he wasn't as hungry in those last few fights. He was comfortable. He's found that hunger again. That's what I like to hear. And he said that he's going to show Errol that he can do a little bit of everything himself. So, yeah, definitely looking forward to this fight. Let me know in the comment section what y'all think, man. Do you think Errol's right about Danny Garcia as far as, just fighting in the same gear? Let me know, guys. Make sure y'all subscribe. Jab Effect, Combo Breaker 99. I'm out. Peace.